Good morning, y'all, and welcome to My Left Ear. It's video 119 already. It's Friday, September 23rd, and I am Carrie Freeman, the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. It is a liberal, independent YouTube channel where I cover what's going on politically, and I do psychic commentary on it, but I also throw runes, the oracle runes, to get clarity and more answers. And then I add something called good evidence stories and some great quote at the end that people like. For information about my work, contacting me, or my Patreon channel, you can look below in description or in the community section. I will post it later on after this video goes live. And what do? I'm a change agent. When I'm not doing this and I'm not writing, because I'm an author, I help people on an individual basis create change in their life, improve, heal, achieve, and I do psychic coaching. So all of that is in the description, and you can also email me, and my email is in the description also. carriesleftear@gmail.com. That's the email. And also, this is for entertainment purposes only. It's always important to mention that for YouTube. And if you're not already subscribed, or you think you're subscribed, double check and make sure, because they've dropped a couple of people. And please hit like if you like. As you know from all the readers and YouTube people, they tell you the same thing. So I apologize for that. All right, so we're gonna start. I've got a runes reading right up front. We're gonna start with Trump having a meeting with Hannity on declassifying documents. It was very awkward. He sounded a little off the wall, and he had something going on with his physical body. Somebody got a shot from the side, and he looked, it's just hard to describe, but he looked like he had a double wide something going on back here. Everybody's confused by it. But he was meandering, that's no surprise, in the interview. And he says, there doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify, even by thinking about it. He actually said that, and it was on all the late night talk shows. Even by thinking about it. So there's jokes all over Twitter about what people have done by thinking about it. So I feel like his brain is breaking. And he also, in that same interview with Hannity, and Hannity, I don't like him, but he tried to, pull him back, guide him, help him, and none of it really worked. But he also told Hannity that the FBI went to Mar-a-Fargo, that's what I call it, Mar-a-Fargo, to find Hillary's emails. And that brain is not working. So I just, I know this, but I just thought, I'm just going to throw the runes on this. So I threw the runes on with this question: are we watching Trump's mental decay? And next to it, I put yes. Okay. But here's what I pulled. The rune of disruption, elemental power. It's about change, freedom, liberation. All of those things are part of this rune, but it's our liberation from him. It's the disruption of this brain matter cratering, failing him, his brain cells, whatever the clinical description is, or, So it indicates a pressing need to break free, and we certainly need to break free from all things Trump. And it says it's totally beyond his control, which of course, if something's going wrong with the brain, it's beyond his control. And this rune, disruption, always operates in the reversal. It is the great awakener, and it might be the awakening of the world that there's something very wrong with this man, chemically, mentally, and it rips away the fabric of what anybody previously knew as their security and identity. So, there's no being in control when you've got dementia moving in. So I said the word. Then I got the rune called Stand Still. It is the coldest rune in the whole deck. It's stand still / withdrawal / ice. And it says the winter of your spiritual life is upon you. That would be him. That would be Trump. You are entangled in a situation to whose implications you are blind. And this is true, because when someone is losing their faculties, they really don't know it for the most part. In fact, right now, I can't speak for everybody, that has these diagnoses, of course. Some people know something's happening to him, but he seems to be blind, generally speaking. And it says he cannot hope to rely on help or support, and that the advice to him is stop stubbornly trying to work your will. So yes, the answer is yes. There's mental decay, all right? And for some reason, many of the news shows and the pundits are very hesitant to bring this up. So I find that they talk about Trump as if he's sort of normal, but they don't talk about what could be going on here medically. Rarely. All right, so now we move on. You probably know by now, Trump is getting in more and more legal trouble, which we're pleased about because it'll hamstring him. New York AG Letitia James is suing former President Trump and his family members of Trump Org, alleging years of bank, tax, and insurance fraud. And she is also making criminal referrals to the IRS Criminal Division and the SDNY. We don't know what's going to happen. She's just making these recommendations. Her lawsuit will not put the Trumps in prison, but I believe that she aims to take down the entire Trump organization and prevent them from doing any further banking, real estate, blah, 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 in New York. Last week, when I talked about Trump having the IRS audit James Comey and Andrew McCabe of the FBI, this is a little karma coming back for him. Attorney Barr, our ex-DOJ criminal, is now coming out. I wish he'd shut up. I wish he'd shut up and go away. But he's coming out, and he thinks that Letitia James went sort of a bridge too far, naming Donald Jr., Eric, and Ivanka in this. But they all had executive titles, and they each had branches of areas that they covered. So it isn't something wicked that the New York Letitia James is doing. It's just that they were and are an intricate part of the company that's being sued. All right. Now, I blew up again. Those of you who watch me see that my screen blows up and then I have to fix it. All right, here we go. Now, last week, and by the way, the lawsuit is starting at $250 million, all right? $250 million. Michael Cohen was interviewed, and he thinks it's going to go way up from there. He thinks that's just a baseline. That's a lot of money, and it really would probably break the Trump crime family empire, whatever you want to call it. So last week, I like to talk about these runes because they're awfully good. The runes told us that the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, we predicted an excellent outcome. That even though there are Trump-appointed judges in this appellate court, this was going to go very well for the DOJ and Merrick Garland, and it did. First of all, Judge Dearie is turning out to be what I shared with you because I had done research that, like, excellent judge, jurist, smart, no nonsense, with a fantastic reputation. We think he was chosen by the Trump people because they thought he would be slow, because that's what they like everything slow so they can run out the clock. No, Judge Dearie is not being slow. He's right on it. And he's indicated that he has, like, no patience for Donald Trump's attorney's nonsense. He has no fear whatsoever. He's very, he's not harsh, but he's very just the facts, no baloney. I don't want to swear. So Judge Cannon everybody has bitch slapped Judge Cannon, the woman who started this whole mess with the DOJ, and they can't have their documents and they can't proceed with their criminal case. Well, Judge Cannon should just go hide in a bunker somewhere, because everybody, including Judge Dearie and the appellate court, were like, what are you thinking, lady? And they reversed everything. So the runes were right last week. I'm just sharing that with you because it makes me very happy. And now we're going to move on to Desantis, the evil, awful psychopath, Ron DeSantis, who's full of thuggery and bravado. He could be worse than Trump on some level. But anyway, you may know this, but we're going to comment. We're going to do runes. That the migrants who were transported from Texas to Florida and then to Martha's Vineyard, there were 48 of them, class action lawsuit. So some fine attorney or a group of attorneys got a hold of them, and they're filing this class action against Ron DeSantis. Now, it might also go to the state of Florida. I'm not sure, but it's Ron DeSantis, okay? So they filed a lawsuit. And then, I don't know if you know this, but when the migrants in Texas were being inveigled, this word that I just learned, which is coaxed, prompted, enticed, seduced, to get on a bus and on a plane with promises, they were given fake brochures. I mean, real, three-folded, professionals, typeset, fake brochures telling them about months of cash assistance, food, job training, placements, to get them on those planes to Martha's Vineyard. So this is very good, this lawsuit. And I kind of knew the answer, but I asked, will the immigrants, class action lawsuit, will they be rewarded? All right. So I got disruption. I've got it several times here today. Elemental power. So the disruption is that they were disrupted. And from this disruption, they will experience change, freedom, liberation. It indicates a pressing need to break free. Those people left their country to break free from communism and oppression. So this disruption is to their lives. It's to DeSantis, because this is like, whoa, and it always operates in the reversal. It is the great awakener. So yeah, these poor people were totally disrupted after they started disrupting their own lives to get to the United States. So it rips away the fabric of what you previously knew as your security and identity. And that could be also Ron DeSantis, that it's ripping away the fabric of his arrogance and confidence and cockiness. All right. Then we get the rune Signals. It is the messenger rune. It is the god Loki. And the god Loki is the trickster. Isn't that interesting? Because those people were tricked. The keynote here with Signals is receiving messages, timely warnings, and then even gifts. Gifts, okay? And it says, pay attention to meetings and details and any encounters, because they will be questioned, they will be deposed. Pay attention to timely warnings, and then be aware that the gifts will come with this. Now, it has a little bit of advice that says to the migrants, pay attention, as even scoundrels can be the bearers of wisdom. You know who the scoundrel is. It's Ron Desantis. And it says, expect the unexpected. And I put a note on my thing right here. My left ear says, expect a windfall. This is what my left ear thinks. These people are going to get a windfall. So in a way, you know, it's going to take a little time, but their lives will be disrupted in that through all this pain and trauma, they're going to end up benefiting. They are. And I'll tell you, the last rune here, I'm jumping ahead of myself, is breakthrough. Breakthrough, the rune of breakthrough and transformation. So this is the good news. This is the happy ending. A major shift or breakthrough in the process of self-change, because everything's changing for these migrant people. It was the worst of times, and then it'll be the best of times. It says, the rune says, in each life comes a moment when seized and recognized, transforms that life forever. Know, you migrants, you, that a major period of achievement and prosperity is often introduced. These migrants that we know of, these 48, they're going to end up in a better place. My left ear thinks it, and the runes think it. So I feel really good about that. Then I went on about Desantis. And I asked the runes, is the migrant kidnapping, that's what I'm calling it, his big fall? Okay? Is it his big fall? And I wrote, yeah, it is. So the first rune I pulled was the rune of joy. That is our joy. That is the migrants' joy. That is Charlie Crist's joy, who we want to be the next governor of Florida. It's joy. All right, it's not DeSantis's joy. And then I got movement, which is another great rune. Movement, because it's about movement. It's not that they were moved, it's about their movement into a better life. But the final rune is about Ron DeSantis. It is the rune of constraint and pain. It is his constraint. He's going to get bootstrapped from this prank that he did. He's handling it like he always does, which is deflect and say how proud he is, that the move was brilliant, what he did, but it wasn't. It was sadistic. So the rune says, be aware of obstacles that we create for ourselves. Identify your shadow. This guy has a big, dark shadow side. I mean, he's really troubled. Examine your troubles, your setbacks, and setbacks are expected. So I think this is the pivot, is the turning point for Ron DeSantis. And I knew something was going to happen. There might be more, you know. So we're going to leave that. We always come back to these things. And then I'm going to go on to Ginny Thomas, because now, as of the last couple of days, she has agreed to testify or answer questions by the January 6th committee, appear. As you know, she's a conservative activist, very involved with the sedition, and is the wife of Supreme Court conservative Clarence Thomas. So she's going to be interviewed by the panel, according to a close source. Now, her attorney, I'm just putting this in there because I find it amusing. Her attorney confirmed the voluntary interview in a statement saying, as she has said from the outset, Mrs. Thomas is eager to answer the committee's questions to clear up any misconceptions about her work relating to the 2020 election. She looks forward to that opportunity. I cannot say that with a straight face, all right? And you know what my left ear said at the end of this? Bull pucky. That's what my left ear said. Bull pucky. It's gaslighting. It makes me think she might punk them, show up, and claim the fifth. She just may do that. It is hard to imagine her sitting in front of this committee having such hostility towards the Democrats and answering questions straightforward, honestly. I'll be shocked if that happens, all right? But I did throw the runes, okay? Will Ginny Thomas claim the fifth? And I got the rune of flow, which is very good, but I got it reversed. So it says that she's trying to exceed her own strength and may have a failure, that she's not drawing upon wisdom, okay? The second rune is the self, and it has to do with a reckoning. It says, only clarity and willingness to change comes, I'm sorry, I lost my place. Only clarity and willingness to change are effective now. This should be a time for her of major rectification, like doing it right. But rectification comes before progress. We don't see her being able to rectify or pull back. She's pretty much a zealot. And it says to her, do not seek credit at this time. I don't know what she'd actually seek credit for, but she would do that. And then here's the final one that's like everything. And it is the second or third time I have gotten this particular rune in relationship to Ginny Thomas. I got stand still, withdrawal, ice. And I'm just going to repeat this to you. The winter of your spiritual life is upon you. You are entangled in a situation to whose implications you are blind. You cannot hope or rely on support. And it says stop stubbornly trying to work your will. It's not good for Ginny Thomas. I think next week I'm going to throw a rune about will she be criminally investigated by the DOJ, because the January 6th isn't a criminal investigation. It can turn into it. So there we go. Now we're winding up with Putin. Putin is boxed in. Putin is in a corner. And it made me think of Dirty Dancing. Nobody puts baby in a corner. Well, I think nobody puts Putin in a corner. So now what's going on from the last few days is Russian people are revolting in the streets due to his mobilization of 300,000 men from all walks, civilians, business owners, young men, people in prison, because he's losing the war. And some Russians, men that have a little money, are fleeing the government. They're flying, they're leaving. All the flights are booked up. And then there are people in the street that are being arrested. But the protests are incredible. And just a few days ago, Russian and Western diplomats clashed over alleged war crimes in Ukraine. We know they're not alleged, but they have to say alleged. The war crimes are massive. On Thursday, during a heated meeting of the United Nations Security Council. And in that, our really great Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, said Russia's withdrawal from the Ukrainian cities of Izium and Bucha revealed gruesome torture and killings of Ukrainian civilians that cannot be dismissed as the actions of a few bad actors. Blinken. And he said, wherever the Russian tide recedes, we discover the horror that's left in the wake. We will not allow President Putin to get away with this. And then Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov denied all the charges by the West, accused Ukrainian forces of killing civilians in the eastern Donbas region. False. With impunity. False. Sergei blamed the United States, France, and Germany for not holding Ukraine accountable for alleged atrocities. I mean, bare-faced lying. Well, Putin showed up and he left. Sergei showed up and he left because they didn't want to hear the feedback. And after they left, other people that were there weighed in. India's prime minister doesn't like this Ukraine war. Erdogan, who is pretty bad himself, said return Ukraine's land. And in China, she and she's allies don't like it. So he's isolating, he's putting himself in a corner. Now the Russian people are really getting it. They're really getting it because it's coming home. And if you saw the news and families are saying goodbye to their father, their husbands, it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking. And it's because of this one man. So, and a reminder that journalist for The Atlantic, Ann Applebaum, wrote, support for Putin is eroding. And it is. Abroad, at home, and in the army. Everything else he says and does right now is nothing more than an attempt to halt that decline. It is happening. The runes had told us by June of 23. Hey, it could happen sooner. If it happens sooner, that's great. Yeah, people are chanting no to war. They're getting arrested. Men are fleeing. And there's a new law that if any of these men desert the armed forces, they get 10 years in prison. There you go. It's a lot. I think I've mentioned this to you. October 3rd will be my second year on YouTube. I started it on my birthday, so I would always remember it and I have something to celebrate. So that is my birthday. But none of this was going on when I started my YouTube channel. I mean, I didn't know that all this stuff was gonna explode. So it feels like whoa. I've taken on a lot. I wonder if other people feel the same way that are not like pros. But yeah, it's been a lot. So I'm gonna give you a little good evidence, something refreshing. There's all this stuff about the migrants and the people that have compassion for the migrants and the people that just want to destroy them, ship them, get rid of them, punish them, and on and on. And so during all of this past week, I had a couple of minor things with my car, and I drove to my mechanic named Frank. And I've been going to Frank for so many years. I mean, I think 25 or 30 years. I met him because he was at a mobile station just up the street. And then I stayed with him. Then he opened his own garage, and I wouldn't go to anybody else. Frank is from El Salvador. And when I went to him the other day, he said, yeah, can you just sit and wait? Because we can kind of take care of this stuff really quickly. So I sat down in his garage, and in the garage, there's like places to sit and a table, and there's a TV, and but it's a garage. And so he come out to just chat with me, and we've chatted before. I mean, I know his sons and a lot about him. One of his sons married an Iranian girl that has a very wealthy family here in the United States, and they've pulled away from Frank, and he's got grandchildren, and it's very sad for him. And he was telling me in his thick accent that it's very sad for him that he's had dinner at the in-laws' house, but that he feels that they feel superior to him because he has a humble life. And he said to me, Frank said to me, I can't help it if I'm not successful. I'm just, and I went, Frank, stop. Frank, I've thought of this before, and I thought of it this week. I think this is what I said to Frank. I said, I think you are one of the greatest success stories I've ever met. He ended up kind of telling me the story of his life. Utterly fascinating. But at 14, he left a little village in El Salvador because he recognized he would not grow or learn anything. And he got to the nearest city where nobody would hire him. And he finally found some kind of a food kitchen or street vendor that said, yes, if you help me prepare the food and clean up, I'll feed you and you can sleep next to the truck. So he started out getting free food and sleeping outside. And it went from there. And he got himself another job, and he came to the United States without language skills at the age of 17. So I won't go into the whole thing, but from 17, and he's going to be, we almost have the same birthday. He's October 4th. He's going to be 70. He now owns his own garage, Frank's Auto Repair, and he works on domestic and foreign cars. He ended up in a Mercedes-Benz shop, and they just were like, we'll fix the radiator on that. And he just learned it. So he's a master mechanic without going to school. He's a master mechanic, and he's always busy. And he's the kind of mechanic that says, no, you don't need the transmission job yet. You come back in 50,000 miles. He will not charge anybody anything they don't need. It was a very touching conversation that we had. And I just felt like, God, this is just a great American story. Everybody that works in his shop is a relative. And he's got 9 granddaughters. And in his spare time, he's a long distance runner, and he has a little music studio in his home. He's a homeowner, and he plays Latin music, and he sings. He's really a well-rounded human being. I love him. And when he finished my car, he wouldn't let me pay him. No, next time. Don't worry about it. Next time. So he walked me to my car, and I just felt so touched by this man for the first time in 25 years. I said, Frank, can I give you a hug? So we hugged, and I just thought about him all day. That's a hero to me. He left a village at 14, slept on the streets. Now he's a business owner, and every single mechanic is a member of his family. To me, he's an American hero. I think I want to write a whole story about this because it's so touching to me. Okay, Frank. God bless Frank. Quote. Yeah, this is a little bit long, but it's so good. It's so inspirational that I just wanted to share it with you. I don't know who, it's anonymous. Here it is. Be scared and do it anyway. Be underqualified and get in the room anyway. Be messy, imperfect, and unsure, and show up anyway. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Get uncomfortable. And then my left ear added, or get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think that's very inspiring. Like be underqualified, get in the room anyway. Be messy, imperfect, and unsure, show up anyway. So I thought that might give everybody a little burst of good energy. And as you know, I will see you soon. I'll make an announcement on the next Patreon. I don't know whether I'll do it Sunday or Monday, but you'll know. I'll make the announcement. I hope you enjoy your weekend. The United States is beginning to pivot a little bit and recalibrate, just like Albert Einstein said, that the United States, America, goes way out on the edge to disaster, and then it turns like a gyroscope and comes back and corrects itself. Now, it's not going to be corrected perfectly, never ever. It never has been. But I think we're beginning to self-correct a little bit. And one last thing, I don't want to paint the Ukraine like too positively, because all the experts and the people that I admire and listen to believe we're in for some more bad stuff. But it doesn't change the fact that Russia is weakening, losing. Putin is becoming more isolated with no support. And there's a very good chance the runes were absolutely correct that this will wind up by June of 23. So keep the thought. Go out and be kind, be nice, make peace, make good memories. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.